Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode. So, today we have the April 2018 issue of ELLE, and let's talk about the cover here, okay? The cover is Kim Kardashian, and wanted to draw your attention to this extreme hourglass, excuse me, hourglass figure here, which has become kind of a modern technique. It's a relatively new procedure in cosmetic surgery where the surgeons actually get in and grind bone from the hips, right? And they start doing this extreme hourglassing here. Now, I'm not saying that Kim has had it done. I don't know if she's had it done or not, but it is a relatively new procedure and it's catching on. And the second thing that I would like to draw to your attention is the amount of space. You get a real good sense of space coming through, and that's done with a medium format digital camera here. So it's one of the newer medium format. This is not full frame, because if this were full frame, you wouldn't be able to pull out this sense of space, and maybe it's not coming through in this video, but as I look at the cover, you're really getting the third dimension is coming through in the photo, right? So again, that's from a large sensor, and let me relay a story that's very interesting. When Ansel Adams was a young guy, he was writing his father. He went on these jaunts, these photo jaunts, and he was staying in communication with his father by mail. And he was going to Yosemite, and he had a Kodak Brownie camera, and the negative was 3.25 by 2.25. And he was photographing Half Dome at Yosemite, and he was doing other type of nature photography, and the grandeur, like the sense of space, was not coming through in his photos, and he was getting very depressed, and he was relaying this to his father in his letters. And what happened, he was so young and inexperienced, he didn't know that the size of the negative impacts the amount of space that's sensed in the photo. So somewhere along his way, he must have run into somebody who was kind of coaching and mentoring him and told him about an 8x10 camera that uses an actual 8x10 negative. So once Ansel Adams discovered this 8x10 camera and this huge negative, his photographs of Half Dome really started to pop and come to life, and you could pick up the third dimension, Z or Z or space, right? That's because most photographs, it's obvious we pick up X and Y, but we're missing that Z dimension, and that's what you can pick up here. And this is done when you depart full frame and go to a medium format. You really start to pick up the third dimension, which is this way, Z or Z. Okay, so again, Ansel Adams had to learn a hard lesson about that, film size or digital sensor size in today's terms. Okay, so we talked about this a little bit, and this is when a photographer has to do multiple takes, right? Because I want you to see the symmetry in the right, how these agree. See the right here and this beautiful horse here on this large kerchief, right? That, I would say the photographer at least honestly did 100 takes, or maybe he was coaching them. Is like, okay, model in the back, lean this way, or model in front, okay, now do this. So my point is, it took a long time to get this shot, and you see it in the results. This is Hermes, right? You can see the symmetry. So it's a very difficult shot, a lot of takes, and a lot of audible coaching and instruction, like direction, like a director would direct a film. The photographer also has to act as a director. Okay, this is a good shot, Saint Laurent, and their kind of niche is rooftop photography. So of all the advertisers, Saint Laurent is most known for doing these, and it's all kinds of variations on themes, and it's always this, I shouldn't say always, but in many instances, they do this rooftop photography, and it's wonderful. It looks great. Okay, this is J.Lo for Guess, and as I said, Guess uses the best models in the business, the most voluptuous or curvy, healthy models. Okay, Guess sets the standard for modeling. They really do. Nobody can recruit and choose better models than Guess. And here it's, like I said, it's J.Lo. But look how, you know what I mean? She's not emaciated or too thin. Very healthy. It's a nice photo. It really doesn't require a lot of analysis, right? It works. It just works. You know, it's a beautiful photo. Here, I get a kick out of this one. It should kind of bring back, and we covered this a few years ago, right? If Elliot Erwitt. So Elliot Erwitt had a very famous image with women standing around, and there was this little toy dog in the image, right? So a woman had a toy dog, right? So it kind of evokes the old Elliot Erwitt style of photography. Nicely done. But I wish the photographer really would have put a little toy dog in there. Then it would have been a full homage or tribute to Erwitt. This is cool here, this image on the right. And it's so cool is the helmet, the visor area is acting as a natural frame for the woman's face, right? It's perfectly framing her and the makeup. So this is really brilliant. The fashion editor who chose this design here to put this woman in this helmet to act as this natural frame, really well done. Dolce & Gabbana is among the best in the business for photography, and it's always shot, it seems like they're always shot in Italy, because obviously it's an Italian fashion house. So most of their stuff is truly shot on location in Italy, and this appears to be no different. You have these old columns, right? And this is probably some piazza in Italy somewhere. But again, look at the actual fashions. It's really well done. So here you have some kind of mild horn rim glasses, right? But see, the difference is this is not a loud, vibrant, popping color. So the black and the conservative nature of the eyeglasses is matching the general conservative nature of the dress and also of the bag. So these are in agreement with the frame. So you have all elements in agreement, and it's just really well done. Again, Dolce & Gabbana is among the very best, or I should say maybe are among the very best. Here, now Louis Vuitton, you can't see the shoes, but these ads ran for a long time, and it was really a clash, especially with the footwear. But thank God these really ultra modern sneakers are not in this shot. But the reason I chose this is for the embroidery, right? This kind of takes you back to maybe the 17th century, 18th century, when this type of brocade or embroidery was really at its height. And these were all hand done back in that day by, servants, seamstresses and such, doing this for the wealthy, right? And it took hours upon hours upon hours to make these, because again, this would have been all hand stitched back in its original time frame. And it took, oh my gosh, right? Because only the uber wealthy could have afforded it. But it's just absolutely gorgeous. Okay, here it is. This is what I was thinking of right here. So here's what really doesn't work about Louis Vuitton here in this shot. So here you have a Greco-Roman influence, right? So this would be some type of structure going back to, right, back 2,000 years easily. Okay, so you have a building that's 2,000 years old, and they put, now this is kind of a tunic here. This could go either way, but this for sure is a flapper's dress from the 1920s, early 30s. Okay, so this is from the flapper time period, and these sneakers, you can tell with this sole. These are ultra modern. So I want you to think about this as a fashion designer. Somebody chooses you to put this shoe together. Now, what possible sense does it make to go with Greco-Roman building that's 2,000 years old, a flapper dress from the 20s and 30s, and then ultra-modern contemporary sneakers? Okay? This is just foolishness raised to an exponent. And I really don't get this. I truly don't get something that silly. Okay, this is Versace. And the reason I chose this image on the left, if you look at Anna Wintour's first cover from 1988, the model is wearing a shirt that is very similar to this portion right here, from this portion up and to the waist. I encourage you to search that on the internet for Anna Wintour's first cover and look at she's an Israeli model and she's wearing a shirt. And it's remarkable, kind of the overall theme here is being repeated some 30 years later. Well, actually 30 years to the year, because that was 88 and this is 18. So it's 30 years later. And the pattern is kind of being repeated. Okay, this is Stuart Weitzman. I'm not sure if the W is pronounced as a V. I really don't know. But they don't advertise anymore, and it's really a shame because, and I'll give you another one, is Sam Edelman. So two of the really outstanding houses, whether it's shoes or clothes or whatever, again, they were Stuart Weitzman and Sam Edelman, and maybe due to financial reasons, whatever the reason is, they don't advertise now in contemporary times. But this was the quality of the work they were putting out, and it was really extremely well done photography. And I just kind of miss both those two advertisers not being in the recent current issues of these magazines. This one, the reason I chose this, as you can tell, this is really well done here. So that somebody has photographed the Eiffel Tower and they shot wide open. It looks like maybe 1.2, right? It looks like that shot at 1.2. But what I don't like is they kind of put a shadow over here of the top and kind of dumbed us down as if we didn't know, right? You can clearly tell this is the Eiffel Tower. So this wasn't necessary. This secondary ghost image, right? I just don't understand the purpose of it, because again, they're dumbing us down as if we didn't know that was the Eiffel Tower. Here, this is really cool, and I wanted to bring this up because, you know, the advertisers in the magazines could really treat us to, again, the way it happened is, okay, Playboy, let's say Playboy magazine, they had the centerfold, right? And you could, like fellas back in the day, I'm going back to the 70s and such, you could either leave the centerfold in the magazine or actually pull it out, literally pull it out, open it up, it's a trifold, and you could hang it on a wall. It'd become an ad hoc poster. Well, even, right, so in the 1970s, Farrah Fawcett was a model for Wella Balsam shampoo. And what the teenage kids were doing, they were getting their mom's fashion magazines, and they were taking the Farrah Fawcett ad for Wella Balsam, and they were cutting it out and hanging it on the wall as an ad hoc poster, similar to a Playboy centerfold. So in current times, this is really heavy. This is extremely heavy cardstock, and it's glossy. You can see the gloss. So my point is, these magazines and the advertisers, and I'll show you coming up here, maybe if not in this episode, I have one in the queue that's ready to go, where it would have made a perfect poster on heavy cardstock, but they ran it on a regular page, which doesn't lend itself well to a poster. So I'm just fascinated that they always miss these opportunities to give us a poster on this heavy cardstock. They blow it every time, right? So I can't hang this. Look at the quality of this cardstock, the gloss. Yet who's going to frame this? Cut it out and frame it, right? So again, an opportunity lost. I included this here because if you take a quick look, it should kind of remind you of something. I would guess, maybe not, but to me that's the quintessential Anita from West Side Story, right? Even though it's an advertisement for Chanel, this has West Side Story all over it. If you remember, the theme of the movie is there are two rival gangs on Manhattan around where the current Lincoln Center is on Manhattan. That was the tenements at the time where the poor lived. And the white kids were in a gang called the Jets, and the Puerto Rican kids were in a gang called the Jets. So it was the Sharks and the Jets fighting over territory, and also along ethnic lines, right? But if you look at this pulls back some of the girls from the movie and from the stage, right? This would be from the Puerto Rican side, right? From the Sharks. Just works. Really works. Okay, this is Natalie Portman. I believe it's Natalie Portman. It's a wonderful photograph, but look how it's been destroyed with this text and with the bottle. Okay, right? So I was saying, can you imagine this? Okay, this is cardstock. Okay, this is cardstock. So they did the right thing by using a heavy, now it's not the heaviest cardstock. This is a medium. It's nowhere near as thick as that Chanel that we just saw. But this is a medium grade cardstock, and it's not as glossy, okay? But the fact is if they would have made this a 2-pager, pulled all this text in the bottle over to this side, and just given us a clean image, this would have been good enough to cut out and hang. We turn the page. Okay, see, I can't hang this. What am I going to do with this? But see, that's the problem. Just take all this and put it on a different page, and leave the image unmolested. Okay, this is nice. This is, and I don't mean to be flippant, really, but Bruno Magli. Sometimes the G is silent. It's pronounced Bruno Magli or Bruno Mali with a silent G, but regardless, my point is, these are the shoes that OJ wore at the time of the murder, and it was a big deal, right? So I'm thinking, can you imagine a tagline where it says, Bruno Mali, the original killer shoe? That would be one heck of a tagline. Oh, that's funny. Okay, this is cool. This is awesome. Look at the fashion. And now look, this is where two people have to collaborate. You have the fashion editor and the set designer. So the fashion editor dresses the person, and the set designer creates the set, or the space that the photograph is going to occur. So you have two people here, and look at the hair and makeup. So now that's 4, and your photographer makes 5. You have 5 people, and this is what I meant by synergy. 5 people come together and produce this. Look at all the agreement, and look how awesome that photo is. It works on every level. There's nothing wrong with this photo. It's beautiful. And again, the synergy created from multiple people collaborating and being on the same page with each other. Okay, this is nice. This is another one who doesn't advertise anymore. Remember, this magazine is from 2018. Sam Edelman. It's beautiful. Look at how gorgeous that photo is. How it breathes. It appears to be another medium format camera. It doesn't appear to be full frame. You can sense too much space in this photo, which would lead me to believe it's a medium format camera, right? And it's beautiful. Look at that. Gosh, I miss Stuart Weitzman and Sam Edelman in these magazines. Okay, the reason I included this, again, because it's like, remember the one I showed you, it evoked West Side Story. Now, if you get a quick glance, just a quick glance, this kind of reminds me of the John Hughes films from the 80s. I think he did, and I could be wrong, okay, so I'm not stating this as fact, but I think he did 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, and what was the third one? Pretty in Pink. So those 3, right? So when you look at this, you're kind of getting a little Phoebe Cates and Molly Ringwald, and this could be Southern California, 1984, 85, 86, and you're getting transported back in time to that time period in those those 3 movies, right? To me it does anyway. It just kind of transports you back to a different time. Now this is really cool here because, again, we're talking about an image evoking a time or place. Now when I look at this image here, I'm thinking the first thing I see with these pastels, right? These are all pastels, okay? But it reminds me of, this is something you would see maybe on Corfu or Ibiza or Mallorca. So you're getting into these islands, these European islands off Greece or Spain, right? And this is what you can imagine. The backdrop is on one of these islands, and these girls are on vacations in the islands, and they're wearing these beautiful pastels, and you have all this agreement. So the point of this photo is, again, it's to evoke a time or a place. Now it's not so much time here, but as I've said, it's the place. It's one of those islands off, right, in Europe, Spain or Greece. Okay, this is nice. It's okay, but it's really bland. So again, this is one of those Irving Penn inspired photos, but it's not properly lighted, right? There's nothing inspirational about it. It's like different. She's not clenching jewels in her teeth, right? There's no lip liner. So what I'm saying is, what was the point of the photo? Because it's unremarkable, literally unremarkable. So I don't get it. Why even run it if it's just so plain? It's nice, but it's just unremarkable. Okay, what did I have in here? This is awesome. And I wanted to point out this kind of wild eyebrow, right? Because this is taking you back to Brooke Shields, because Brooke Shields was the first model going back to the late 70s, maybe 76-ish, right up until her, when she was in her prime, up to 83, 84. So she had an 8-year run that was spectacular, roughly 76 to 84. And she had this kind of wild, untrimmed eyebrow. I shouldn't say it's wild. It's certainly not wild. But my point is, they're not plucked. She's not waxed. It's a natural eyebrow. But look at how precise this eyeshadow, eyeliner has been applied. Everything about this photo is just rocking, right? They just hit this one out of the park. And as I've said before, that's by preparation, planning and preparation. And look how this is all coming together. Okay, so the reason I wanted to show you this photo is because of the shoe choice. Now we saw, I think a couple episodes ago, we saw Emily Ratajkowski in a dress similar to this, like a sundress. And then she was wearing motorcycle boots that did not work. So you come here and you see the sundress, and look how it works with this. It looks like she's wearing a wedge, a strapped wedge. Now you see how there's all kinds of agreement in this photo. It really, really works. So shoe choice, I think, in photography and fashion photography, if there's one item that's the most critical of all items, it's shoe choice. You gotta have the right shoe. Okay, this image on the left, it appears the photographer, we were talking about these boutique lenses and these super large apertures, f1, f1.2, f0.95. But it looks like the photographer got focus on this image. But the reason I'm showing you this is it looks like a beauty dish, okay? But it can't be, because now what do you think about this logically? If the photographer is really close on this eye, okay, he or she would be obstructing the beauty dish behind him or her. So there's no way that this could appear in the photo. He would be obstructing it. Okay, so this has been inserted digitally. Now the way this was really pulled off is you have a ring light. Okay, so you have a big ring. It's maybe 10 to 12 inches in diameter or something like that. And the camera it's on a mount, and it goes in the middle of the ring. So you have, like, so this would be the lens, and then you have the ring light circumscribing the lens of the camera. The ring light fires, and see, this is why it works, because right? So my point is, this was really taken with a ring light, but yet they removed the ring light and inserted this beauty dish which I don't understand. They should have just left the ring light in there. Okay, here's another one. So at this time in 2018, there was a lot of pen-inspired photography. So again, we're getting back to an Irving Penn macro shot of a woman's mouth. Really beautiful lipstick. You can tell the nail color is in perfect agreement with the nail polish, and she's appearing to, it looks like a capsule of some type, like a multivitamin of some type. So yeah, it's a probiotic. It's a probiotic, right? So what they're trying to do, instead of jewels, these very high-end jewels, they're taking the pen effect and just substituting it with like basically a multivitamin. This is cool too. This is from a, right, I covered this in detail. I think I used it as a one-off, but there's some heavy influence from a famous French painting. I think it's Lady Liberty Leading the Masses or something like that. I can't remember the exact title of the painting off the top of my head. But furthermore, in the 80s, the musical Les Miserables was really, if you notice the iconography of Les Mis was basically taken from Lady Liberty. So yet this is the third incarnation. So you have the original painting, then you have Les Mis from the 80s, and now this is yet still borrowing from both of them. And it's cool. It really works. Okay, this could have been cool, but there's just way too much Photoshop going on in here. This is extremely heavily edited, and it just doesn't work. I think I'm just going to go ahead and finish this magazine. I'm going to go over 30 minutes, but I ask your indulgence. So this too should kind of evoke something. If you remember a song from the 80s, I think it was Katrina and the Waves. I'm doing this from memory. I forgot to search this. But if you remember the song Walking on Sunshine, right? She was in a shoe like this, and she kind of resembles her a little bit, if I remember correctly. But again, when I saw this, the first thing that jumped into my mind was Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves. Okay, so this is really cool. This image on the left. So you have two elements going on here. The photographer is borrowing from two different photographers. So you have this active pose, right? This movement. This was started by Avedon in the 50s. Okay, and you have this hair. This kind of hair was started by Mizell in the 90s. He did a lot of work with Linda Evangelista. They made an awesome pair. Stephen Mizell and Linda Evangelista were probably on a plane equal to that of David Bailey and Gene Shrimpton, right? I mean, you had very famous models and their photographers and their muses. And what I'm trying to get at is you have a Stephen Mizell influence here in the hair, and have Avedon. So it's a mix of Mizell and Avedon. This is beautiful here. This denim, this really works. The hair, you can see there's a fan out of frame, of course. The fan is blowing her hair across her face, right? She has this blue bandana, this denim clothing, and these shoes. All this is just coming together beautifully. So whoever the fashion editor was who dressed this model did a fantastic job. Okay, here, so I wanted to show you the levels of nude in photography. So this is called an implied, IMPLIED, implied nude. So what that means is there is a model right here, of course, and she doesn't have a top on yet. She's covering herself with her hands. Now it could also be there's a towel. Marilyn Monroe did a lot of those where she's fully nude, but she had some type of material that would cover her, right, her sensitive areas. So this is called an implied nude. Now there's another one, now Playboy, where the model is fully unclothed, but it's nothing too graphic. That's called a nude. That's just a nude. And then the most extreme version is erotic nude, and that is something you would have found in Hustler magazine, where the nudity is really extreme and graphic and very explicit. So I just wanted to recap the three types of nudes: implied nude. Okay, let me start again. Implied nude, nude, and erotic nude. Okay, this is cool. Let me see if this is the one I'm thinking. Yeah. So if this is a Savage paper, this one's called Primary Red, and it's an awesome paper to use in a photo shoot. As you can see, it's awesome. So I wanted to draw your attention to a few things here. So one is, I think this is, I forgot her name already. Give me a second here. She was just in a movie with Bradley Cooper, Nightmare Alley, and I'm forgetting her name. But anyways, Cate Blanchett, that's it, Cate Blanchett. So look at the blonde hair against the red is really working. She has red lipstick, it's working. The red suit is perfectly in harmony with the paper. And what they've done here, and it's so cool, they've chosen no accessories at all. So she doesn't have any earrings, no necklace, no bangle or bracelet, no wristwatch, no rings. So it's so cool the way they went about this. So the three elements of red are the suit, the lips, and the paper, and it's a home run. Okay, and then also there's the bottle. So what I wanted to draw to your attention though was the wide angle lens. Now I can tell by the way Cate Blanchett has been elongated here. This is a wide angle lens, okay? But the photographer is not too close, because I'm going to show you the next image, and this is what happens if you take a wide angle lens and you get too close. Okay, so if you can tell, right, so the axis of the lens is low, and when you create a funhouse effect. It's like literally from an amusement park. If you went to the funhouse, they had these mirrors that you can stand in front of, and it really warped your face and your body. It either elongated it this way or it stretched it out this way. So here, what I'm trying to get at is it's wide angle. I can tell because the head is disproportionately small to the rest of the body. And this is done to create a thinning effect on the model. So to make the model appear thinner, you elongate the body overall, and that's done with a wide angle lens. But it's not too close, okay? This is how you, now watch what happens here. When you get too close, the photographer got too close, and look how wide her hips are. He stretched her hips out really super wide compared to her face, right? So again, the axis of the lens is here. Now, if the axis of the lens would have been here and he would have been this close, he would have blown, right? The face would have been disproportionately wide. But since the axis of the lens is here, so I want you to look at her hips here and how slimming, right? Look at her body's elongated and her hips are slim. You come over here and the hips appear to be very wide. And this is a cautionary tale too of using a wide angle lens and coming in too close. You're gonna create this funhouse effect, and it really threw her body proportions entirely out of whack. This should have never gone to print. This should have been caught by the editor or a series of editors, including the editor-in-chief, right? So there were many people who could have caught this photo and said, nope, this is definitely not going to print. The photographer got too close with a wide angle and blew her hips out. This definitely goes to print. Beautiful photo, but this does not go to print. Yet, see, this is what I'm talking about, people asleep on the job. The photo went to print, and it's really quite terrible. Oops. Okay, so there you have it, ELLE magazine. This was April 2018. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next video.